Okay, hey everyone, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. I did want to kind of cap off the year with a special segment where we talk about certain wristwatch releases that kind of won us over. And this is more conversational. Feel free to leave your comments down below. You can critique and comment on the watches that I bring up, as well as tell me, of course, about certain releases that did win you over, right? So, what do I mean by that in terms of winning you over? I mean, yeah, certain watches, you hear about them and you're instantly excited. They're either from a brand you love or they're, it's an iteration or update of a watch that you enjoy. Sometimes though, a brand you really enjoy and even fanboy over can give you a release that isn't necessarily what you were expecting. And yeah, it can kind of lead to, kind of a cold feeling. But sometimes you get it in the middle and it really starts to heat things up in terms of finding those little details that really resonate with you, as well as the changing face of the market in terms of, wow, now you start seeing where this kind of piece is and where it competes with, and you start kind of growing more admiration for it over time. Also, there are brands that maybe you don't feel super hyped about. Maybe you've kind of enjoyed them from afar, but they haven't been for you. And then one day they release a line that really resonates with you and gets you excited. And I feel like that's really such a great feeling. And it's something that hopefully every one of you watching will also kind of have, where it's a watch where you're just hoping that this brand comes out with something that really is targeting you, and also not be offended by the fact that they're releasing things that are for completely different audiences most of the time, especially us as enthusiasts and collectors. We're like 10% of the market. Most of the watches that are being sold are going to be to casual audiences. And then there's a third watch too, that we're going to discuss where maybe some of the hype around it has just been a little bit overboard, and it's been kind of a turnoff, and you've been a bit perplexed as to why people would put so much time and investment into acquiring what could be seen as a pretty, meh type of release. But I will say, after experiencing that type of hoopla and hype and being out in a line waiting, I realized a lot of that does contribute to the overall, experience and enjoyment of that timepiece and the sentimental place that it will actually hold kind of within your collection. So before we do that, quick customary wristwatch check. Today I have on my Casio vintage A1100D, and this thing is awesome. It's a great grab and go piece. I enjoy it a whole lot. And you know what, guys? It doesn't cost a whole lot. $135 full retail. I'm pretty sure I got it for even less than that. This was one that I, walked into a Tilly's and purchased. And yeah, it just goes to show, right? Like, another point of feedback was, checking out the comment sections coming off of Teddy's annual, which wristwatches we wore the most, segment were, people that were looking for kind of less obvious, less mainstream choices, which I think we're going to have some fun today with those three options. But even including this in terms of not a flex piece, not a hype piece, something that is actually very, very attainable. And although the price point isn't very high, I think kind of the value proposition is still very, very nice. So I do have a full review of this piece, so I'll try to leave that down either in the description or at the end of the video, kind of off in the cards. But let's go ahead, flip the camera around, and check out these three watches and releases that won me over. Okay, guys, so these are the three watches and releases that won me over. Just for a little bit of fun, we'll leave them face down until I speak about each one. And some of you who are fans of the channel can probably tell just by looking at the backs of these watches which ones they are. But you know what? For those of you that aren't, you're in for a fun little surprise. So first, we're going to talk about this bad boy right here, and it is from Seiko. Now, I was again, won over by this because the initial stock images were pretty underwhelming, And the use of the Marinemaster name on there was just a bit of a surprise. And honestly, coming off of when this was announced, I heard that they were working on some new slim 6L37 powered divers, that were on the way after the SJE093. So I was really hoping for a 6105 kind of pre-Willard Slim Turtle type of watch. And that's not what this was. And yeah, I ended up buying the SJE 101 in black when they first, kind of came out in that first wave of color releases, and using it as kind of more of a rotational spacer to keep my prized SLA 017 in better condition for a longer period of time. Then I ended up trading in that SJE 101 towards this blue SJE 119 after having, brought it in for review. I mean, it's a great color. I mean, it's hard to capture here on camera, in a dark room. This bezel is actually quite blue, and it actually matches the radiance of this very dynamic blue dial a lot. I mean, when it's catching those reflections, it's hard to capture kind of in studio here, but I do have some videos and reels I've done and also, on Instagram and stuff where you can see it kind of outdoors. And I think it looks really, really good. But yeah, this one I wasn't super excited about. I was kind of like confused by it, but it won me over in that after handling the black dial variation and kind of just using it again as more of a rotational spacer, seeing it in the blue was just perfect. Like, I've been looking for a dark blue premium dive watch for the longest time. And this one's just ultra wearable, about 38.5 millimeters, 20 millimeter lug width. It's giving you everything, right? You're getting an ISO compliant, dive watch, dual curve sapphire with an inner air coating, completely in-house. You even get a display case back, and a lot of firsts that are happening for Seiko, which is a brand that's been around for a long, long time. They haven't done display case backs on dive watches. This is the first time they've done that. They hadn't come out with an international Marinemaster branded watch. And, this was one of the first lines that started having, reviving that Marinemaster moniker. And I know it's not necessarily, that's a whole nother segment and multiple segments on that. People will argue, oh, it's not a real Marinemaster, even though the first Marinemaster watch from Seiko had nothing to do with the Marinemaster that they're imagining. It didn't have a monocoque case. It was made out of titanium. It was a quartz chronograph made out of titanium. A titanium quartz chronograph with 100 meters of water resistance was the first Marinemaster. And you're going to have everybody go on rants about what they envision of Marinemaster. Well, what you envision for Marinemaster has nothing to do with the facts. It's just a nice thing, right? Like, it's a nice thing. There's a lot of sentimental value, but you know what? They brought back the Marinemaster 300, and that one didn't have to win me over. I knew that one was going to be one that I really liked. And so that's why this made it into this segment and not that. This one really won me over for its wearability, guys. Its versatility. I love the blue. I love how dynamic it is, and it just looks great. It feels great. Wears fantastic. Super comfortable. And yeah, it's not the perfect wristwatch, but it is one that I absolutely enjoy. Again, there is probably no perfect wristwatch. And if you're searching for a perfect watch, you're just really shortchanging yourself out of a lot of fun, very quirky watches that are full of personality that you can really enjoy. But this one won me over. I just wasn't super excited for the release. I thought I was pretty good with my SLA 017. But yeah, I mean, reality setting in, I did want to kind of protect that a little bit more. Kind of got a filler watch for it, also on the bracelet. And then this one kind of just, the blue really just, it fulfilled something that I have been looking for that I couldn't find for the longest time in terms of just a great blue on blue, the everyday dive watch setup. And this is that for me. So that one really won me over. Now, that one, yeah, still I think pretty controversial, but man, talk about controversy. Here we go. Let's get into it. This bad boy right here. Swatch Blancpain 50 Fathoms Ocean of Storms. And yeah, I wasn't super thrilled with Swatch watches in general. And then the whole idea of going out, waiting in lines. The Moon Swatch didn't exactly set the table well for these, how they pivoted away from online sales, which everybody was kind of excited about. Then they found out that they had to just go to a boutique, and if you didn't have one near you, and there was just a whole lot of hoopla that I just really wasn't a fan of initially. And those initial colorways, and combined with that boutique only availability, I just didn't see these models as worth waiting in line for. And then once they dropped the news on this all black variation, I was intrigued by it. I think it looks great. Aesthetically, it's and the sizing, right? It's sized down, which is great. It has about a 42 millimeter across the bezel, but it's only like 40 and a half across the case. So that's pretty outstanding, guys. And, that's how they kind of got me. So I thought, hey, why don't I go out during drop day, see if I can get one of these, only planning to kind of review it and probably sell it off or gift it away or something like that. But the bezel action, ooh, listen to that. Surprisingly amazing. Especially when you consider bioceramic, right? Basically a plastic case. And then, once I put it on a premium Artem strap here with some people are going to be really upset that I put such a, $200+ strap onto a watch that costs $400. But guys, this is the most exciting $400 acquisition I ever had. Like this, getting this watch, waiting in line, talking to people while I was waiting, all that stuff. Like that was honestly pretty amazing. And I really enjoyed it. It was fantastic. That level of just like the kind of a natural high in terms of waiting to get it, going to the line, going through all that. There was something about it that I really, really enjoyed. And that's something that doesn't come across on a spec sheet, right? It's just that, again, it's the sentimental value. They really tapped into something with this idea of getting you into the shop, getting you out in a line with other enthusiasts, and even talking to a couple of scalpers and flippers while you're out there. It was an honestly really interesting conversation. And then the fact that it is actually like a very wearable piece, I mean, that's awesome. It is limited, right? In that it's spec wise limited. Also, of course, they're released in batches, but like it has a non-hacking movement and it's not really serviceable. I mean, everything is sealed on here, but I mean, it looks good and it's fun, and it's a genius piece of marketing memorabilia, and honestly it's just a sentimental piece that I had fun. I have a memory tied to this watch, right? It wasn't just something that was like, oh, this came out, I ordered it so I could review it. Like, no, I had to go out there and go stand in a line and really just kind of interact and really have some fun stories and some great interactions with a lot of great folks here in the San Diego area. So that's going to be a lot of fun for me to just think about and recall on. And again, it won me over, especially, the strap that it came on was not the greatest, but yes, obviously this Artem strap is like 1,000 times nicer, and it should be for the price point, but man, it just makes this feel like a complete piece. And that's one of the things I really enjoy about it. And yeah, again, at the end of the day, as you guys can see, although it's non-hacking, I was able to get it hacked pretty well. Basically, the same type of kind of trick hacking you can do where you just kind of roll the hand backwards and then it'll stop the seconds, and then you basically make the second stop to where it actually is stopping so that you can get your seconds going at 12 when it would be with another watch, and then you just kind of arrange the hands from there independently of the hour hand. And yeah, it works. And I mean, the loom is fantastic on this too. Again, there's full reviews for all of these watches on the channel, so definitely check those out. I'll leave the links to them in the description if you want to learn more about each watch. Of course, if you haven't already seen those. But yeah, this one, again, it won me over. I wasn't super excited. Honestly, I didn't get a Moonwatch until after this, because this won me over so much, it made me want to go try the same thing, try my hand again in luck in getting a Moon Swatch, because this one was actually so much fun to acquire. So yeah, that one won me over, and I know it's not for everybody. Now here, guys, we'll get into this one right now. A watch and a brand that, I've always been able to kind of appreciate from afar as a brand, but there really weren't any particular models that particularly resonated with me. And, their divers look decent enough, but, there was just too much competition within that price point, I felt like. And then they do the first run of these awesome mechanics. So this is the mechanic from Shanola. These go for $1,700. And, once their first run of the mechanic was released, it had some kind of semi-funky dial color options on leather straps, and then they kind of had my attention, but not enough for me to go out and like really try to get a hands-on with it. And you know what? All it took was them to release this monochromatic black dial version, on this excellent steel bracelet. I mean, this bracelet's outstanding. Look at that. It's bandolier style, but it actually has a taper to it. It actually tapers, which I love. It's so hard to find that. And I think this looks great. And honestly, like you think about brands like Nomos that are doing similar things, right? Nice kind of versatile manual hand wind movements on these funky cases, and with kind of a cool retro aesthetic on the bracelet. And that $1,700 all of a sudden starts feeling like more of a deal. I mean, honestly, if this was released under Longines or even Fears, right, who do similar cases to these, this would cost like $3,000 or more. And the cool thing is, it's a Shanola. It has this whole Detroit attitude, this vibe to it. And I mean, actually, it has a little bit of, there we go. But it looks great. I really enjoy it. I even like that they went extra overboard on the loom. The movement is, again, it's just something different. Manual wind, black coated. Let me give it a quick little wipe here. It's just a cool, different timepiece. And it's not the definitive, watch that's out there. None of these watches are, but I mean, I would consider this the definitive Shanola. Absolutely. This thing it just does so much. And then the cool thing is that, again, I feel like it's even more exciting that it is from Shanola. But the cool thing is it costs less because of that. Because they sell a lot of other goods, lifestyle products, and, they're not necessarily aimed at, the same markets. And I think this one at $1,700 deserves a look. Like, this thing is super nice. And there's people that have loved Shanola the whole time, and now this can be a bridge into more serious timepieces. And then there's people like me who've kind of been like, all right, well, not necessarily too into the Shanola fashion kind of lifestyle vibes, but I can appreciate the brand. I like what they stand for. I like that they're doing US assembly in a time when that, especially mainstream at high volume was not a thing, and they're trying to make it a thing again. So yeah, they kind of got me hooked with this one. Again, if this was branded Longines or Fears, it would be an enthusiast darling, and people would be like, oh, this is like one of the best releases of the year. But because it's a Shanola, people are just going, oh, that's too expensive but like what it offers, right? Like, it's a 39 millimeter watch. It has a domed sapphire that's beautifully done, domed dial, slightly even domed seconds hand, right, to help with the parallax. Oh, actually, I think the minute hand as well, right? So you're just getting so many great things that for a watch enthusiast you can appreciate. And again, from a brand that you just wouldn't expect. And again, that, for me, that makes it fun, right? Like, yes, I expect that Seiko is going to put out cool stuff, but this model didn't excite me, And yeah, I expect that there's going to be hype around these Swatch / whatever, whether they be Omega or Blancpain or whatever they do next in terms of their collaborations. But I didn't think that there was going to be one that won me over. And yeah, I know that there's absolutely a market for Shanola watches, but I just didn't know that I would be part of that market. So these are all things that kind of where they just flipped my initial expectations and ideas really on their head. And yeah, I just love when a watch can do that, when a brand can do that. They can kind of just subvert your expectations. And man, this is just a beautiful watch that I really enjoy. Again, the bracelet. I mean, I would pay money for this to be an aftermarket bracelet. If there was a brand that was just selling these bracelets, this thing would be worth like $200 just for the bracelet, just because it's a bandolier style, quick release spring bars, and it fits beautifully. It drapes beautifully. And it has a taper. I mean, this thing, I could put this bracelet on a, some type of, like a Junghans, or really just any type of that minimalist German Bauhaus watch, and it would look fantastic. And you could put this on, some Panerai-esque style watches, and I think it would look great as well. So yeah, there's just a lot to like here, and I'm just really impressed. So all three of these watches for me, guys, they won me over. They just did something special for me. They did something different, and I like that. I like that they did something. They kind of went a different way about in terms of my perceptions and my own personal things and my baggage around the branding, around the release, and what I was looking for, right? Like, I wanted a pre-Willard 6105 Slim Turtle premium watch on a bracelet, like on an H-Link bracelet is what I was hoping for. I still hope that comes out, but this, in the meantime, man, this one really won me over. Like, this is a great competitor to something like a Tag Heuer. So, like, I understand, although the marketing probably wasn't directed towards me. This isn't to sell to some watch enthusiast who has a YouTube channel. This is for somebody who, Seiko's biggest customers are their dealers, right? So this is for a brick and mortar AD for them to have sitting next to, next to a Tag Heuer, and give you an option. Say, instead of buying this Tag Aqua Racer, maybe you buy this instead, right? And then here, again, the experience, the fun, right? The collectability, the idea that it's very entry level, and it's supposed to be. And yeah, $400 isn't cheap for what it is, but $400 is pretty attainable for something that gave me so much of a rush and a level of excitement to where when I was signing that receipt as I was walking out of there, I mean, it was thrilling. It was a lot of fun, a lot of excitement. The energy was just so great out in that line, and I just dig that, right? And I go back to that feeling every time I put that on. And then here, what we close with, guys, Shanola, a brand that I've, again, had a lot of respect for. It just hasn't necessarily, they haven't had models that really resonated with me. I liked their messaging. I like what they're trying to do. Does it speak to me? No, not entirely. A lot of their marketing doesn't, but I understand that I'm not their target demographic. But with this watch, they did win me over, and I became part of that demo, which is, I think a two-part, which is there are folks that love Shanolas that want the best Shanola possible, and this is that. And then there's some people who haven't really been interested in Shanola, that are looking for just different little details, little nuances within the watch collecting game. And this just provides so much of that. And then it also does it in such a funky way because it's from a brand that you just wouldn't expect, right? In terms of, hey, what a watch YouTuber, watch collector who is a Seiko fanboy, who also waited in line for a Blancpain, collab with Swatch, somehow also really enjoyed this, a mall watch to most people, right? When you think about the Shanola brand. So I don't know. I think that's really fun. Again, they won me over, but let me know what won you guys over this year, whether you're talking about these watches and your thoughts on them. I'm sure there are people going to tell me this watch sucks and isn't a Marinemaster. There's going to be people that tell me this watch sucks and it's made out of plastic and I got ripped off. And there's people that tell me this watch sucks because American watchmaking doesn't mean anything to them and they don't derive any point of value from things being American made. But I do because I live in America and, I was in the Marine Corps and so there are things that I just, again, for me, that I value, and these weren't watches that I seeked out necessarily to be like, oh, I can't wait to have these and get these in hand. They're watches where I was curious, but ultimately won over by. So if you have a similar feeling, story, sentiment, share that down in the comments below. I'll see you guys next year. A lot of changes coming to the channel, whether it be the release schedule or the intro, outro music, so that you guys can minimize the videos while still being able to scroll through other options on your phone for mobile users, addressing all that. So, hey guys, thanks again for all of the support over the years, and I'll see you next year.